Hey, what's going on? I'm Fitz, and welcome back to my channel, Vlogs with Fitz. Today I wanted to talk about the problem with our 20s and why a lot of people aren't surviving those 10 years and making it to their 30s. On December 8th, the rapper Juice WRLD died of an apparent overdose due to Percocets. He just turned 21 a few weeks ago prior to that. He was supposedly coming off of his private jet going back home to Chicago, where he's from. They said that Juice WRLD died from a seizure, which caused a heart attack. And even though the final autopsy hasn't been released yet, we're only left to assume that Juice WRLD may have killed himself to avoid the jail time he would have received once he landed and got caught by the police. And that's why he took all this Percocet. It just doesn't make sense, though, how he would want to end his life as if he still didn't have a chance. He had plenty of money, so I'm sure he could have just hired a great lawyer. What's disturbing people is the fact that in his Legend song, he says, "What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21." But I don't think people are understanding that it's not the 27 Club, it's not the 21 Club, and it's not even the 25 Club. It's our 20s. That 10-year span from 20 to 30, we're in the prime of our youth, but that's why it's also the most dangerous time of our lives. We're trying to finish college, we're dealing with relationships, we're going to jobs we hate, we're finally legal to drink, we're still growing, and our hormones are skyrocketing. We move out of our parents' house. Well, not yet anyway. And on top of all that, there's pressure from our families and society in general to fit this norm and agenda that maybe we want nothing to do with at all. And as stressful as our 20s can be on us, we still feel so alive. We want to party, we have a lot of freedom, and at times we get a little experimental. Over the past few years, we lost so many young artists: Little Peep, Triple X, Avicii, and Mac Miller. Now, Mac Miller's death, it hit me the hardest. My friends and I, we grew up with his voice, his lyrics, all throughout high school, even at the end of elementary school, and I'm sure you guys did as well. I'm thankful for the time I got to see him live in 2011. It was one of my first concerts ever. It was the Space Migration Tour, and it was awesome. Before he passed, he released his Swimming album, and it was easily one of his best works yet. But unfortunately, he never got to go on the tour he really wanted to go on. A year exactly after he died, thousands showed up to the Blue Slide Park in Pittsburgh to pay tribute to his life. And I wanted to go so bad, and I wish I did, but I didn't. It really is amazing how much you could care about someone you've never even met before. What I'll never understand, though, is why people say legends die young. Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, are they all considered legends? Yeah, absolutely. But are you trying to tell me that if they weren't still alive today, they still wouldn't be considered legends? So most of these people either died from a drug overdose or suicide. But you have to remember that it's not the sole reason they're not here today. All these young and talented people who still had so much potential and their whole lives ahead of them never made it to 30. And it just begs the question, can we just survive our 20s? We can never compare our lives to theirs for obvious reasons, and I'm not really trying to. But at the same time, we all still go through a lot of the same bullshit during our 20s, no matter who you are. When artists like this die so young, social media can definitely be a very uncomfortable place to go to. Some of the comments people left on Facebook and Instagram about Juice WRLD's passing are honestly disgusting. In the mind of these people, if they didn't care about him, didn't like his music, or just hated his music genre in general, then it didn't matter that he died. And apparently, if you died from a drug overdose, then you deserved it. But take Mac Miller, for instance. He was supposedly a very cautious drug user. Yeah, I agree, he shouldn't have been messing around with what he had. But people make mistakes, and we make a lot of them, especially in our 20s. It didn't mean he deserved to die. Getting money and fame at a very young age will 100% change you. We've seen it happen to Disney stars. Are you trying to tell me that if you were in their shoes, you would have been perfect? You wouldn't have experimented with things you probably shouldn't have? Until we actually experience what they went through, I feel like we don't really have a place to judge them on the choices they made that unfortunately cost them their lives. So it is December now. The holidays are coming, but December's a month I never really look forward to. And no, it's not just because of the snow. 6 years ago, on December 14th, I lost one of my best friends, who was also my neighbor. He lived a few blocks away from me. His name was Vincent Gagliardi, and he died in a car accident. There was only 11 more days till Christmas. I was a sophomore at Seton Hall at the time, and I was on campus when I heard the news. And I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. My heart sank. Time froze. It literally stopped in its place. I've lost people before. But with my grandparents and even my dog Powder, they all lived long lives. They started getting older and getting sick. So we more or less are expecting it to happen. And not that it's going to be easier to cope with, but at least we could move on knowing they lived a good life and died peacefully. But my friend Vincent Gagliardi, he was only 20 years old. We met back when we were 12, 13 years old. We hung out countless amount of times. But yet, I don't have a single picture of him and I together. Vinny loved elephants. He even had an elephant bowl, and you would hit it by smoking from the trunk. Around the time when he died, my parents actually bought me this little elephant here, just so I could always think about him, I have it right on my desk. Most of his family and even some friends got elephant tattoos. A year ago, after it had been 5 years since he passed, I finally had the courage to go visit his grave on Staten Island. And I also just recently went back this past Saturday. No matter how many people I had to talk to about it, including a therapist I saw for a few weeks at college, I still woke up every day depressed and just so angry. But eventually I started getting signs from him, as if he was trying to tell me he's still here. He's not gone forever. I started seeing elephants all over the place, designs on people's backpacks, books. And yeah, you could say those are just coincidences, but it just felt way too real. Especially when other people that loved him as well were getting signs too. So now it's 6 years later. I'll never get over it, because he should still be here today. After all this time, I almost can't even cry anymore. But I think it's because deep down, I know for sure I'm going to reunite with him again one day. And because of that, he wouldn't want me to be upset. And this, without a doubt, goes for you guys as well, for loved ones you may have lost too. Before I end this video, I just want to say that we have to stop worrying about who we're going to be remembered as. We have to just live in the now, do what we love, and one day, who knows, we could become legends ourselves. Don't let anyone convince you that the only way to become a true legend is to die young. Take Stan Lee, for instance. He lived till 95 years old. It seems like all these young artists, especially in their latest tracks, were predicting their deaths all along, as if they knew they were going to die soon and they were just trying to give their final goodbyes. Although they died in their 20s, they knew how to live life to the absolute fullest, and I think that's a great lesson we could learn from them. Some people live their whole lives and never get to say that they did that. And if there's one thing for sure about Vincent Gagliardi, he knew how to do exactly that. He lived every day as if it was his last. I'm sorry I'll never get to see what else he wanted to go pursue and accomplish in life, but I'll always appreciate the time I did get to spend with him, like those days and nights in his backyard, just making each other laugh, giving each other advice. Even though those are just simple memories I have with him, they were some of the best times of my life. Thank you for your time, guys. This is Vlogs with FITZ. I'm FITZ. Peace.